Hey, everybody. It's me, Queenie. We are on day 5 of the Queen Boss Confidence Immersion, and I'm excited to join you today. Oh, my goodness. I've got some good stuff to talk about. So, before we get it going, let me go ahead and share this page out. Bear with me for a moment. I think I might be beyond some of these technical challenges, but we'll see. We're not going to be stopped, all right? I'm excited. Today, we are going to go a little bit deeper. I had a little family situation last week and I couldn't continue on Friday, but that's all right. Uh-oh. I'm excited though. Let's see. Just pull up the video. Thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you say hey when you pop in. Let me know that you're here. There we go. All right, I'm sharing. I'm excited today. Oh, goodness. Come on, computer. Let's see. Here we go. Thank you guys for joining me today. I am super excited. Okay, shared once. Hi there. I see somebody's joining me. Welcome. We're about to get started. Just enjoy the music, and I'm on party while we share it out to a couple of my groups to make sure that everybody knows that we're ready to go. I am excited. If you had a chance to catch any of the other days, let me know. Let me know what you think. We're going to keep it interactive today. I want to make sure that we keep the conversation going. Okay. So let me just double check, and we are good to go. So I am Queenie Brown. Let's see. All right, we're good. We're live. Hey, I see somebody joining me. I did it faster this time, y'all. We're making progress. All right, let's get it going. So welcome. Today is day 5 of the Queen Boss Confidence Immersion. I'm your host, Queenie Brown, and I'm super excited to join you today. I am an author, a healer, a transformational coach, and a business strategist, and I stand for the healing, restoration, and the full out, complete, whole embodiment of power for women worldwide. So I'm excited to join you today. Over the last couple of sessions we talked about how to access and activate your power, right? On day 1, we talked about your ultimate identity crisis and how we can align with the identity that we truly are so that we can step fully into our power. On day 2, we talked about the ultimate self-image that we can align to. On day 3, I went a little bit deeper, and that's a definite one that you want to catch if you haven't already watched it. That's where I talked about where our power comes from and how significant it is. And it's not just something that, I'm just talking about. This is a real power that we hold and embody, and it gives us the ability to do some amazing things. And so if we understand this power and we start to get curious about it, then we can start to walk in it and really make some significant changes in our lives, right? And then on day 4, I was talking about how we bridge the gap between the things that we've been taught and the things that are true to be able to open the door to really accessing a whole lot more of our power. Sometimes we are limited by the box that we tend to want to only look inside of for our solutions in life. And so I went a little deeper to explain how while we've been taught to only look in one place or to eliminate other options or opportunities, the truth is that God created it all. And the only way for us to really embody the power at its fullest is to be able to embrace all of it and to not close our eyes to things that really open us up to more access. So today we're going to have a little bit of power play. And I realize that I love this word power, and there's so much that we can learn from it. So I talk about the fact that when we are standing in our power, it's like we're having a power surge. When you really get clear about who your identity is and your authority and the inheritance that you have and the assignment, all of that combined, and acknowledging that there is so much more on the inside of us that we have access to. When you really step into that, it's like we get a power surge. We find that we are able to do a whole lot that we didn't even know we could do. For instance, have you ever seen or heard stories of mothers saving their children? Hey, Olivia, girl, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Have you ever heard stories of women saving their babies? Like I've heard stories of kids getting run over by cars, and women will go over and literally lift the car off of their children, or just superhuman things that we're able to do when we really just align in the moment and activate that power surge, right? Well, there's also the ability that we have to let our power leak from us, and oftentimes that comes in the form of our beliefs that are not necessarily true about who we are. Some of us have gone through a lot in our lives. A lot of us have been through abuse. A lot of us have been through neglect, abandonment. All kinds of different things that really impact, hey sweetie, that really impact what we believe about ourselves. And when we start to question our ability to do things, I see that as a power leak, right? That means that you're not really fully standing in it. You can't really get out there and do what you need to do because something is leaking from you, right? Well, if you have enough of a power leak long enough, it becomes a power shortage. And then when you really need that power, it's not there. And over time, if you allow that to continue, when you need that power and it's not there and you continue to allow that power to leak, it becomes a power failure. You literally cannot access your power. And that was my story. I didn't realize that I had allowed beliefs in my mind about things that things that people have said over time that made me want to put myself in a box, or made me want to not play full out, or maybe I knew early on. Let me calm down because I'm excited and I don't want to make sure I'm clear. But I remember early on in life, I dealt with a lot of jealousy. A lot of people in my world were uncomfortable by me showing up and playing full out. And when I came into the room and on the scene with all the confidence that I had at such a young age, it made people react to me in a way that became hurtful for me. And so I learned to just kind of acquiesce and maybe, just maybe don't show up as big, or maybe don't be as loud, or maybe don't be as powerful because of how I was making other people feel. And so that was an incredible power leak for me. And over time, I just found myself putting myself into a smaller box, a smaller box, a smaller box, until eventually I was in a box where I was silent and literally felt like I lost my voice, my ability to communicate, my ability to show up powerfully. So imagine me now, you're watching this. Hey, I see a couple others have joined us. Welcome. Imagine me, here it is, God has given me this calling and I'm not able to stand in it because I don't have a voice. I don't feel confident in what it is that I'm here to share. All of that played a huge part in my power being leaked. And ultimately it created a power failure. My body, everything shut down. So yeah, I didn't get into my story. I shared it a little bit in the other sessions, but just to give you a recap, I spent the better part of 15 years in a completely painful, debilitating illness, and it caused me to fall into a deep depression, and it caused me to lose a whole lot as far as my finances. I had to pay for all these medical treatments, and it just sent our family into a tailspin for a long time, and I was in constant pain. They ultimately told me I would never have babies, but I'm on the other side of all of that. I gave birth to 2 miracle babies in my mid-40s. I'm not in constant pain anymore. I am certainly not in that depression anymore, and I'm certainly recovering my voice. So what it took, though, is for me to really get clear about who I am and really embrace the identity that God has given me, and that God has given all of us, and really to learn how to step into that power, understand how to access it, how to activate it, how to turn it up, and how to turn it on. And so that's what we are talking about this week. It's really important that we get clear about our identity. So one of the things that I shared earlier was an image that I wanted you guys to see. And let me see if I can get to it. Let me see. Am I on the right page to be able to share it? An image that I wanted to share that really gives you an idea of your it's not going to let me do it. I'm sorry, y'all. Of your identity. But I'll show it to you on so one of the things that I'll show it to you on a piece of paper. So I want you to take a look at this image. And this image, in my opinion, explains exactly the challenge that many of us face in life. We are walking around seeing ourselves as little kitty cats when we are all powerful. We are literally the kings and queens that should be running things. And because we have a mistaken identity, we don't walk in the power. we aren't standing boldly in the call that we have on our lives. We aren't able to live the life of fullness and abundance that we could create for ourselves. But all of it is based in whole in the fact that we are not clear about our identity. And so the interesting thing about it is life creates a whole lot of challenges for us. Obviously, I talked about how some of us have gone through of different challenges, but the truth of the matter is our brains are an amazing tool. Our minds are an amazing tool that if we understand how they work, we can literally reprogram ourselves to be able to own our power and stand in it and walk in it fully. So our brains are broken into two different sections. We've got our conscious mind, which is the things that we think, think on a daily basis. Our conscious memories, the things that we have access to, the short-term memories, the long-term memories. That's our conscious mind. But then, and that part of our mind is like the tip of the iceberg. Underneath the water lies our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind is a part of our brains that has etched in it our beliefs. It's like a record player. Do you guys remember records back in the day? I know I'm dating myself, and many of you are much younger than me. But anyway, back in the day, we used to have records actually on vinyl. And in order to get the music onto the record, they literally had to etch out a groove in the record in order to make that music play, right? Or imagine our subconscious mind. Hey there, I see someone else is joining me. Say hello, let me know who you are. Imagine our subconscious mind has allowed all of the beliefs that we've been exposed to over in our lives has been etched into that groove. A groove has been created in it, and over time that groove gets deeper and deeper. So any beliefs that you might have about yourself: I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not smart enough, I should get quiet, I shouldn't stand out, I shouldn't be bold, I shouldn't, all those shoulds and shouldn'ts that we create based on the life that we've had and the wounds that we've endured, it all gets etched into our subconscious mind. And when it's time for us to align with our power and really get clear about our identity and stand in our authority and embrace our inheritance and step into our assignment, we have to bump up against all those beliefs that aren't accurate, that have been etched into our minds. And so for me, I found that I started out in a really powerful place. I started out, my self-image was built around me being a model at the age of 11. I really built out the idea that I was powerful from the outside. It was an external self-image. And I talked about this in earlier videos. And when I got sick, it shattered my external self-image. And so I started to believe things about myself that weren't true. I started to believe some of the things that people have been saying over the years that was a reflection of who they thought I was and not who I knew I was, and certainly not who God created me to be. But those things were etched onto my record. They were etched onto my subconscious mind. And so I remember in the midst of my illness, I would wake up in dread, like wake up scared, constantly afraid of either not ever being out of the pain, or of not ever being able to live a full life, or being in pain forever and never having babies, or never being able to hang out with my girlfriends, or never being able to wear high heels again, or never being able to financially handle my life anymore. And I had, initially I was in IT early on, and so I was making a really good living, and we had a very, very successful life. But once I got sick, we blew through our savings, blew through our 401k, blew through everything that we had, and we were literally at bankruptcy. And it was, still trying to pay for medical treatments and pay for co-pays and pay for prescriptions. And I'd wake up in the morning praying that nothing was going to be turned off, and praying that I would be able to make it through the week, and praying that I would have enough food. And so the idea that I was self-sufficient and able to sustain my life started to etch itself in the groove of my record. Well, let me say that again. The inability to sustain my life, the inability to take care of things that needed to be taken care of, like my medical treatments, started to become etched in my record. And so I started to believe in my inability, even though I trusted God. And I don't want us to get caught up in that Christianese idea that I'm supposed to just trust God and not recognize the humanity in me, because it's not real. We can have faith and trust and believe in God, but there is that part of us that doesn't. there's that part of us that wants to hold on to that faith, but you still hear those messages, and you know you got to cast them down. You got to bring them under subjection, but they're there. And the point that I'm making now is just that they're there. And I started to recognize that those were leaks in my ability to show up, in my ability to believe in what God was doing in and through me. And so I realized that I had to take a very active role in rebuilding my self-image. I had to really become clear that that not only was I who God created me to be, but the pain was not more real than what God was saying to me in my heart. The pain was not more real than the message that He was creating in me to be able to deliver to you now. The fact that I was able to deliver my babies in my mid-40s, even after that, I still had to reprogram my mind. I still had to remind myself. It was like at one point, y'all ever seen the movie Groundhog's Day? Where you wake up in the morning, well, he wakes up in the morning every day, and it's like he's reliving the same day over and over and over again. Every single morning, I found myself reliving the same dread, reliving the same beliefs, waking up to a fear. And I know that that's not God's plan for me. That's not His intention. But the fact is that it was real, and I had to learn how to change that. I had to learn, and it wasn't just speaking those things that be not as though they were. That's part of it. But it wasn't just casting down those imaginations. That's part of it. It was those things and more, because your subconscious mind it's God created it to hold strong. You know, our brains were designed to be able to hold strong to things. And a stronghold, that's when you're holding strong to the wrong thing, it becomes a real battle for you. It really does create a power of failure in your life. And so we've got to learn how to break down our mindset and understand how strongholds are built, so that we can rebuild another stronghold in our minds and hold on to the right thing. Okay. And so I had to do that. And it took time, and it's a constant process. Our subconscious mind every day will bring us something new, some new belief that we didn't even realize that we had, something from way back when that somebody might have whispered to us in our minds, and we didn't even recognize that it was there. And it'll come out of your mouth at some point. You start to pay attention to what's coming out of your mouth, and you'll notice what's been locked in there. And that's where you'll recognize, wait a second, that's a power leak. I can't even allow myself to believe that anymore. I've got to find out what the truth is about who I am and what I'm created to do to help rewrite over that groove. So what does that process look like? Well, it's important to understand how your brain works. Okay, when you are thinking about your conscious mind, repetition is what helps your brain to develop grooves and to create that's what creates a stronghold. But if your brain is not in a relaxed state, that repetition, it takes a whole lot more of it. If you can learn how to breathe yourself into a relaxed state, meaning give your brain more oxygen, allow it to be over flooded with oxygen before you allow yourself to start writing on your brain with those new beliefs, then it holds strong a whole lot easier. Let me see. And some of the things that show up are like self-sabotage. You don't realize that you're sabotaging yourself. And that's because the groove that's been planted in your brain has not been, is not allowing you to override it. Even if you're doing the things that you say you want to do, and you're walking in the fullness of all that you're trying to create in your life, but then you keep doing things to throw yourself off, or you keep making mistakes, or you keep, allowing yourself to just show up in a way that's not powerful, that's a pattern of self-sabotage. And it comes from that belief system in the back of your mind. So you've got to start to pay attention to what those things are, and pay attention to how they're showing up in your life. Another thing is self-attack. How many times do you get upset with yourself? Like you make a mistake and you're like, doggone it, why did I do that? Or you may say some things to yourself, even under your breath, but it's things that are not healthy. That self-attack is coming from a program that's in your subconscious mind that has to be rewritten. Self-abuse. Are you poisoning yourself with alcohol or drugs or negative thinking or the news? News can be poison, y'all. It can be poison. And if you're taking in too much negativity, that is poison, and it's going to right onto your subconscious mind. You'll start to fear people and things and places and all of this stuff. And fear is the enemy. Fear is not. It's a power leak to the ultimate degree. That's going to lead to power failure in the fastest way. So our beliefs about every single thing, it starts in our self-image. And if we start to pay attention to the things that we say, and we start to pay attention to the ways that we're behaving and the ways that we're showing up, it'll give us clues to what we're believing about ourselves in our subconscious mind. And it'll give us insight into how we need to go about it and what new beliefs need to be written onto that new, onto our mind, so that we start to shift things. It's just like a computer, you know. We used to program computers. Well, we don't do much programming anymore. They're already programmed. But let's just say, you know, you wanted your program to have a certain operating system to be able to do a certain thing. Well, sometimes you would have that operating system, and then a virus would come in and muck up the system, right? It wouldn't operate the way that it's supposed to. Our brains are the same way. Those limiting beliefs are like a virus. They come in and they get in the way, and they create what pathways that shouldn't be there, and they destroy things that shouldn't be destroyed, and they make it hard for your thoughts to come together the way they're supposed to. Well, sometimes you got to just wipe it out and start with a fresh new operating system. Right? And that's sometimes what we need to do with our own brains. And a lot of times, you know, we use what the Word of God tells us to do by saying confessions, confessing the Word of God. That's a way to make the shifts happen. We also use affirmations. That is another way. Some people use chanting. That's another way. But if you look at the underlying piece of all of that, is that when you use your voice, when you open your mouth and you speak out loud, that's what changes the game. Because our voice gives our word power. That's how God created. God said, God said, God said, and then God saw all the things that he said. So we have to start paying attention to what we are allowing out of our mouths, and be very cognizant and mindful to say the things that are going to write things onto our subconscious mind. Even in your sleep, I remember when I would wake up in dread, I would have to tell myself, I'm safe, I'm safe. There's no harm can come to me. I would speak those words that I felt I needed to hear. But before I could do that, I had to write them out. And before I could write them out, I had to research them. And then after I wrote them out, I researched them, wrote them out, then I had to record them for myself. And then I would play them for myself when I wake up in the morning, and in that dread. Because in that dread, your mind is in fight or flight. You're not going to be able to come up with what you need to say. So instead, just turn your phone on and play those words so that you're able to hear them. Then your mind is being written on. You're reminded of your power. You're reminded of your strength. You're reminded of God's willingness to rescue you out of anything. And he does it through you. It's not something outside of you that's going to happen. God is doing it in and through you. So it's important for us to recognize that we have that power, that ability to shift everything and anything, especially what's going on in our subconscious mind, and prevent those power leaks, prevent the power shortage, prevent the power failure, and literally make a shift so that we are walking in the fullness of our power. Does that make sense? Okay. So also praying in the Spirit, that is another way. But again, it's all about opening your mouth and speaking words. The other day I was talking to you about angels, and I was saying how, you know, angels we're not created lower than angels. And there's a passage in the Bible that says that we were created a little lower than the angels. And that was actually a mistranslation. That word angels in the original text is the word Elohim, which is actually a word, one of the words that is used to describe God, or a name of God. And so what the passage is really saying is that we were created a little lower than God himself. And God says that in the word, that we were created in his image like him. But what are angels, and why is it important that we recognize that they are there? Angels are ministering spirits, what that means is they do what God tells them to do, right? But the way that they operate is they respond to the words of God. So when we put God's word in our mouth and we let it out, angels hearken to that. They hear it and then they go do it. So if we speak words out of our mouth that line up with what God has said, then we've got an army of angels that are out there doing our work for us. And I remember there's a passage in the Bible where Jesus says that, you know, do you think that at once, if I wanted to, I couldn't, how did he say it? Basically, the point was, don't you know that if I wanted to, I could call on 12 legions of angels and they would be right here at my beck and call. That's what he said. And a legion of angels is 6,000. So 12 legion of angels is 72,000 angels at his beck and call. And if Jesus is the firstborn of all the brethren, and we are the brethren, then we also have the ability to access 72,000 angels at our beck and call. But they're unemployed right now because we're not using our voice. We're not using God's word to be able to make things happen and give them something to do. They're waiting. And that's part of our power. That's part of our power. So getting back to recognizing that our subconscious mind gets in the way, we've got to just learn that if we open our mouths and allow God's word to come out of it, open our mouths and allow our voice to be heard, it changes the game for us. It prevents the power leaks. It prevents the power shortages. It prevents the power failures, and it turns on a power surge immediately. And so we've got to learn how to do that and activate that on a constant, everyday, all day, daily basis, and not let the beliefs about our powerlessness keep us from doing that. Okay. So I'm not going to keep you any longer. I'm thankful and grateful that you all joined me for this 5-day challenge. It's been a great time, and I'm going to continue. We're going to do more in the next couple of weeks. I do want to invite you all to join me on my Rise retreat. I've got a retreat coming up very soon. And if you're interested in joining me, send me a private message and I'll talk to you about it. It's going to be very exciting. We're going to go into a lot more depth into how to access this power that God has given us. And if you haven't had a chance to watch some of the previous videos, please do, because I talk about where that power comes from and how important it is that we walk in it, and how we've been created to be these powerhouse beings, but without understanding our identity and really getting clear on our self-image, we can't walk in it. So I'm excited. I can't wait to join you guys for more. And I thank you for joining me. Have a great one. Oh, and if you aren't already in my community, come join me in Supernatural Womanhood. We're going to be going a lot deeper in there as well. And that's where we'll have a whole lot more conversation. Thank you, Olivia. I appreciate you, darling. Thanks for joining us. But yeah, so we're going to be going a lot deeper, and that's where we can have more intimate conversations about it and share a little bit more at more depth. So thank you again. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.